Good morning. Welcome to the worship service of the First Unitarian Church of Hobart, where we affirm each week that love is the doctrine of this church, the quest for truth is our sacrament, service is our prayer, and this is our covenant, to dwell together in peace, to treat the truth in love, and to help one another. Since not everyone can attend in person, we are streaming the service online, and we extend a special welcome to those who are joining us virtually. The joys and sorrows portion of our service will be temporarily closed. Other than that, this worship service is being recorded and will be available for future viewing on our website. We invite you to now enter sacred time, to make this time and this place sacred by our presence and intention. Please turn off your silence your devices, and as you do, I invite you also to turn down the volume on your distractions, whether they are your fears or anxiety or armor that you use to protect yourself from the world. You can do this as slowly as you need to. Breathe. Try to let go of any expectations, to drop any guilt or shame, to trust in the possibility of forgiveness. Try to let go of those other things and be here in this moment so you can start to walk the maze within your heart. Guide your steps into this questioning curves, this labyrinth of puzzle leading you deeper into your own truths. Listen to the twists and turns. Listen in the openness within all reaching. Listen, and wisdom within you calls to a wisdom beyond you, and all that dialogue lies peace. As honorary Unitarian Albert Schweitzer noted, at times our own light goes out and is rekindled as a spark from another person. Each of us has cause to think with deep gratitude of those who have lighted the flame within us. In that spirit of rekindling one another's sparks, please join together in lighting our chalice by reading the words together that are on your screen in order of service. We gather this hour as people of faith, with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, in celebration of the life we share together. To worship is to pay utmost attention, that which is most worth paying attention to. So when we gather each Sunday morning, we strive to bring that level of care and attention to our being together. But our ability to do that well rests on our Unitarian Universalist covenants, the faithful promises that we make to each other, and to which we agree to be held accountable. We're not about being perfect, because we aren't. We're about showing up with our best effort and learning together. Our covenants are inherently forgiving, and even when they are broken, even then we will seek restoration and renewal, stumbling and wholeheartedly welcome. So in that spirit, may we lean into the productive discomfort that makes possible all learning and growth and community. Please rise in body and spirit and join on our recovenanting as we review these 3 lines and invite you to respond with what's on the screen. For all the ways that we have neglected to consider our thoughts before speaking, communicate in a clear and positive manner, and pause before acting. May we forgive ourselves and each other and begin again in love. For all the ways that we have neglected to speak directly to those concerned with an issue, offer and receive appropriate criticism and praise, and provide timely, specific, and clear feedback. May we forgive ourselves and each other and begin again in love. For all the ways that we have not been appropriately supportive of others without taking sides. May we forgive ourselves and each other and begin again in love. Opening words. Oh, sing a new song to the eternal. Shout praise all earth. Break into music and song. Praise the eternal with the lyre and song. Let the sea and all within it thunder praise, the world and its inhabitants. Let rivers clap their hands. Let mountains sing their chorus. Oh, sing a new song to the eternal. Sometimes in life we are prepared to sing a new song together. Let us practice doing that now. Both embracing whatever discomfort might be in for you and also bravely singing out to that we can hear your voice. Now please open your hymnals to 122, Sound Over All Waters.
Number 122. Sound over all waters, reach out from all lands, the chorus of voices, clasping of hands, raise hope from the ages, rise like the sun, all faithful to music, all hearts beat as one, sing bridal of nations with chorals of love, sing out the war vulture and sing in the dove with glad jubilee.
seated. Whenever we gather with others, we have the opportunity to share our own private joys and sorrows, to hold them together so that the lightness of our joys lifts us all up and the heaviness of our sorrows feels easier to bear. In a moment, I will come around with the room with the microphone so that anyone who wants to share a joy or sorrow can do so. I will ask that when I come to you that you share your name so that we know who you are. Which lives in the silence of our hearts, may we continue to weave the fabrics of our community into ever more beautiful patterns.
You're not on, I know, right? I just like to listen sometimes. You're not on this journey alone, though. There are fellow travelers going together. They may be sitting right near you. Please take a moment to greet your neighbors by waving your hands and letting the warmth of your smile fill the spaces between us. Now that we have practiced witnessing each other's humanity and showing up with our own, please rise in body or spirit for first a responsive reading in which I will read the regular text, and I invite you to join me in reading the italicized text, and then to go right into singing together our doxology. The responsive reading today, Seasons of the Self, number 627. We need a celebration that speaks The spring-inspired word about life and death. Through all the cycling seasons, days, and years. We need a sense of deity to crack our own hard ground to sever us. And push life out of inner tombs and outer pain. Unless we move the seasons of the self and spring can come for us, the winter will go on, and Easter will remain a myth, and life will never come again, despite the fact of spring. There it is. The Thing Lou Couldn't Do by Ashley Spires.
I chose this story and I asked my good friend Jess to come up here, and you'll see the story on the screen, but she's going to read the part of Lou for you. I hope you enjoy it.
This is Lou. Lou and her friends are brave adventurers. They run faster than airplanes. They build mighty fortresses. They rescue wild animals. Lou is pretty sure she's going to be a deep sea diver when she grows up, or a race car driver, or maybe a pirate. Let's play pirates. Yeah, we just need a ship. Up there. The tree can be our ship. This is new. Lou has never climbed a tree before. It will be an adventure, says her friend. Lou loves adventures, but this adventure is up. She likes her adventures to be down. Lou suggests a not up a tree game, but her friends have made up their minds. Come on, Lou. Last one up has to walk the plank. She'll be there in a minute. She just needs to change her shoes first. In Captain Lou's Skullbuckle's opinion, the couch makes a fantastic pirate ship, but Mom disagrees. It's a beautiful day. Go outside and play with your friends. Fine, but her first mate is coming too. Ahoy, land ho! Arry, mateys! They're still up there. Come up, ye landlubber. Lou lets them. Lou tells them that her arm is sore. And anyway, the cat needs a walk. Also, she read once you shouldn't climb so soon after eating. There are so many reasons not to try. I slept on a slug this morning. His funeral is in 5 minutes. I found out I'm part fish. I need water to survive, so if you'll excuse me, I'll be in the bathtub for the rest of my life. That asteroid is headed right for us. Run. My tummy hurts. I need to sit down. I can't climb a tree. We'll show you how. She wishes her friends would just leave her alone. She's fine down here. Besides, she doesn't even want to climb. What's so great about climbing trees anyway? I can see all the way to the North Pole from here. Their treasure is that way. Arr. Oh, that does look pretty great. If only Lou could climb trees. Meow. Show off. Maybe she can get up here without climbing. There must be lots of other ways to get up a tree. Trampoline, pole vault, helicopter. Sadly, helicopters are hard to come by. We're under attack. All hands on deck. It's a call for help. Shiver me timbers. Those scallywags need a captain. It's time for Captain Lou's Skullbuckle to climb aboard. This pirate captain has faced some pretty scary things. Sea monsters, hurricanes, even a super brain super bad brain freeze, and now Captain Loose Skullbuckle is going to do the scariest thing of all. She's going to climb this tree. Nerg, Erf. She must be there, nearly there. Uh-huh. Thud. Are you okay? She knew it. She can't climb. Meow? Not yet, anyway. Kitten purr next to her. Last one to the castle has to swim the moat. She'll be back, maybe even tomorrow. After all, Lou loves an adventure.
Now please rise and bow to your spirits who join in singing number 396, I Know This Rose Will Open.
Number 396 in your hymnal, there is an added part to it that we talked about with Tom. So I will sing a descant, and it's from actually from a U2 song. So please feel to join in with the descant, or just do the basic part that's here. I Know This Rose Will Open. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know.
Wow, that was really amazing. Thank you. We're singing a new song, or an old song in a new way. And that's really amazing. Lou had a growth mindset. We're having a growth mindset. It's just a growing day for us, isn't it? Good morning, friends. Thank you. I imagine if you, like me, there are days in your life that if you shut your eyes, you can see moments of as if they happened yesterday. And for me, February 11th, 2023 is one of those days. I remember the clear blue sky and frosty air on that Saturday morning when 10 of us from this church traveled down to Indianapolis to participate in what was called a Call for Care public action. We boarded the chartered bus, and I remember the joy and palpable excitement as folks from Northwest Indiana chatted and joined in song and listened to personal testimony about why the issue of access to mental health was important enough to take this journey. I remember sitting next to Mary Ann and listening to her talk about her sister, and I was impressed she was willing to spend the long day, given that she was so new to this church and didn't know anyone very well. And I also remember feeling responsible because I was the one who asked her to join us, and I only hoped that she would find the day worthwhile. And full confession, during the whole ride, I remember also trying to sneak glances at my speech because unlike the others on the bus, I was to have an onstage role at this event. Finally, we arrived at the church venue, and I remember feeling increasingly nervous by the sheer number of people who had shown up. In total, over 600 in the seats, and another 200 who would listen through speakers outside the sanctuary. As I looked out into the audience, I saw people of different ages and races, some from big cities and some from small towns, people who were gay, straight, transgendered, people representing many different religions and no formal religion at all. In that moment, it was for me, in the language of my childhood faith, the kingdom of heaven on earth, or the world as I wish it were all the time. People gathered to advocate for passage of a bill that would provide a statewide mental health crisis response system, a system that would make Indiana a better and safer place for everyone. I willed myself to tamp down the abundance of emotion and tears that welled up when I first entered the sanctuary to the sound of a gospel choir and a live band. As I took a deep breath to calm my nerves, I couldn't help but wonder what led me to this place at this time. And I know there were many steps on that path, and that several of them went directly through this church. But before I go further, I need to clear up a commonly held misperception. People who know that I was a high school teacher and a retreat leader for over 30 years assume that I love me some public speaking. And it is understandable. After all, teachers do stand up in front of students in public schools all day and speak to them. Well, I'm here to set the record straight. Not all teachers love or are good at public speaking, just like not all orators would love or even be good at teaching. Public speaking is the number one fear of most Americans, followed by death, which is the number two fear. So basically, we would all rather be the person in the box than the person speaking about the person in the box. And I know, while I may look comfortable up here in this moment, I am not. I'm like the duck gliding across the pond, feathers unruffled, all the while paddling furiously underneath the surface, just trying to stay afloat. Because you see, by nature, I'm actually an introvert. And that is, I don't draw energy from a crowd. In fact, right now, I can feel my energy draining out. I can become, because I've worked at it, an intermittent extrovert if the situation warrants it. But I will need to recharge afterwards, because that is where I draw my energy. Many a time, I would go home after a long day of teaching, not speak to anyone, not leave my house, and be in bed by 9, just to get up and do it all over again the next day. And what makes today particularly stressful for me is standing here and talking about myself in words I crafted. I'd much rather be teaching you something from a textbook than showing you me in words I wrote. I'm not a confident writer, and imagining your potential judgment heightens my insecurity and vulnerability. However, I have learned an important life lesson from the sociologist Brené Brown, who says that what feels like vulnerability in the speaker feels like courage in the listener, and in that I take heart. Because I believe that living a courageous, open-hearted life is a life worth striving to live. So, having said all that, why do I put myself through this stress? I take that risk for what I consider to be a greater good, like helping special education students achieve greater academic success, often in subjects where they've had years of failure. Creating safe spaces where high school students can connect and discover that there's more that unites us than divides us if we give it a chance. Advocating for passage of a law that says that every Hoosier has the right to have a person to call, a team to come, and a safe place to go during a mental health crisis. Because while I do not enjoy public speaking, I do enjoy connecting with people and building communities. I did this in the classroom, and I did this during years of weekend retreats where groups of students worked on interpersonal skills so that they could better connect and help each other during their return to school. On a Natural Helpers retreat, I would often use a balloon as a metaphor for personal growth. You see, if you take a balloon out of its package and blow air into it, even if you allow the balloon to deflate, the balloon never goes back to its original shape. The balloon itself has been changed on a molecular level simply by expanding. I encourage my retreat participants to take acceptable risks to further personal growth that could lead to change. One of my favorite stories of change came from a young man who had gone on his first retreat as a junior and then again as a leader during his senior year. He told the group how he was always painfully shy and would never say hi to people because he thought he looked stupid. He said after he got back from his retreat and was walking down the hall, he kept running into folks he had met that weekend who were acknowledging him, and he felt he should do the same because otherwise he would be rude. He said he did it so often that he began to wave to other people he knew from his classes, and it felt good, and now he said he would wave all the time. Now, no one told John that a requirement of being in the program was to wave to people. He decided it was something he wanted to do. He began doing it, and over time it changed him. Early on, I realized as a teacher and a leader that if I wanted high school age students to open up and take risks that could lead to personal growth, I had to take risks myself. If I said connection was important to me, I had to practice it and be seen to be practicing it. There is nothing that kids can spot faster than another hypocritical adult who says one thing but behaves differently. But fortunately, I had established a connecting practice. I still remember that day in April of 1999 when I first heard about what happened at Columbine High School. While school shootings have become a too frequent occurrence, Columbine was the first major event of its kind, and it shocked the nation. I remember sitting with this group of students trying to make sense of this unspeakable act of violence when one girl looked me straight in the eye and pointedly said, "Teachers are supposed to protect students. What are you going to do to keep us safe?" In that moment, I felt called to task and found wanting. Intellectually, I knew there was no way I would be able to stop an assault rifle, and I didn't know with certainty how I would even react in a crisis situation. But I did realize I couldn't do my job without a practice to help me on a day-to-day practice basis. I read somewhere that the young men who perpetrated this horrendous attack had felt disconnected from their school community. So I decided to practice connecting with students, many who were not in my classes. From that moment on, whenever I was out in the hall and I saw a student alone at his locker or passing me by, I'd make eye contact and smile, or do that classic head nod that you guys are so fond of. So, see. I found that on most occasions, the object of my connection acknowledged the effort. In fact, a scowling kid with a sullen expression who looked like he hated the world would break into the most beatific smile, one that would melt an angel's heart. Over time, I swear, the funniest thing would seem to happen. I'd be in the hall, and some kid would smile at me first. And you know what? It felt good. I felt seen and accepted. And for a moment, the world became a little less worldly and a little more connected. A girl in my English class once told me that every time she saw me, I was smiling and that I must be a really happy person all the time. And I told her I wasn't always happy, but I was always happy to see her. And it was true. Whatever else was happening in my life, in that moment, I was happy to connect with the person I was with. In fact, it was that longing for a connection that brought my husband and me to this church over 20 years ago. We had not been regular churchgoers the first 10 years of our married life. Pete started attending weekday services at the Chicago Temple, a Methodist church in the Loop, and I joined him on occasional Sundays. And while we loved the vibrant energy of a big city church, eventually we longed for the ability to meet others in our area and to participate in activities outside of Sunday morning. We have been fortunate to meet many who have come through these doors these past 2 decades and to call some our closest friends. We have served in various capacities on different ministries and held different leadership roles in this beloved space. One of my favorite places to be during the first hour on most Sundays is downstairs in Spirit Circle. That is the place where I've been able to focus on growing spiritually. Listening to others and sharing my own story has helped me grow and connect. I have learned things that have helped me shift my perspective and uncover truths buried deep within. I have many memories of my time there, but I'll share one that stands out. It was a Sunday many years ago, and a newer person, Angel, asked what it was that our faith would not be our faith without. What it was that our faith would not be our faith without. And on that Sunday, we went around the circle, one by one, and shared. Now, until that moment, I never thought about the answer to that question. In fact, as people before me spoke, I thought, now that sounds good. Man, I wish I'd thought of that. And, I didn't know he felt that way. And as they got closer to me, I wondered, could I just say ditto? The tension inside me was almost unbearable. And when it came around to me and all eyes were watching, from somewhere deep inside me bubbled up one word: transcendence. When I said that, it was as if the tumblers fell into place and a lock around my heart opened. All of a sudden, it didn't matter how others reacted or might judge my response. It felt true for me. And that moment helped me grow spiritually and live a more open and authentic life as I explored finding transcendence in the ordinary moments of life, like watching a butterfly, a light on a bush, or hearing the laughter of a child. It was through this church that Pete and I became members of the Faith in Action Ministry because we believe engaging in the world is a spiritual practice. FIA led me into relationship with the Interfaith Action Network, a multiracial, multi-faith collective of lay leaders and social justice committees from 15 local faith communities in Lake and Porter County. IAN was created by members of 4 Gary congregations who, in their grief in the wake of the murder of George Floyd, formed to advocate for greater police accountability and increased public safety. In the beginning, I learned about their work through Maggie and Michelle and Pete, who had been meeting with city and state officials and attending IAN meetings via Zoom, as it was during the pandemic, after all. While I liked meeting this diverse group of people, at the time, I was not someone who either expressed political opinions or advocated publicly on political issues. As a working teacher, I felt it was my job to create environments for students to develop their own political views, at the same time be respectful of others who held differing views, all the while never really sharing my own views or political leanings. As I moved into retirement, and those arbitrary rules I set for myself no longer applied, I eagerly attended the Help Not Handcuffs public action in May of 2022 in support of the creation of a pilot mobile mental health unit for the city of Gary. By this time, leadership of IAN had held countless meetings with local officials, and using the Gary Police Reform Commission recommendations, IAN coalesced around the issue of access to mental health as a forum for increased public safety. This had already been established with great success in Denver and San Antonio and was spreading throughout the country. And Northwest Indiana had an opportunity to lead in our state. That May Sunday arrived, and while Pete said they were hoping to get 70 people to show up at St. Mary's of the Lake Catholic Church in Miller, by the time the event had started, there were over 150 in attendance, and Pete was scrambling to set up enough chairs. That afternoon was powerful to watch, with song and prayer, a procession of clergy, PowerPoints, and personal testimony. Politicians had an opportunity to speak, but they were followed by an 8 months pregnant Pastor Leah from Hobart United Methodist Church, who made them commit publicly to continued meetings with IAN. I thought, now this is a group I would be proud to be a part of. I was even more impressed when I talked to people afterwards and heard that there were roles for everyone. If you like to keep time, there's a role for you. If you like to create flyers or PowerPoints, there's a role for you. And if you like to sing or share a personal story, there's a role for you too. This is service and social action done in the spirit of joy and relationship. I started reading IAN emails and went to a local Valparaiso event where I had the opportunity to reconnect with State Senator Rodney Pohl, who, as it happened years ago, had been a student on one of my retreats. During our conversation, I learned that Robin, one of the co-leaders of IAN, had a son who had also been a natural helper at his school. She and Rodney connected over the fact that both Rodney and her son had been involved in playing in bands while in high school and might have even met each other. This was an example of how these opportunities connect have been a strength and a hallmark of IAN. When Robin called me a few weeks later, she said Faith in Indiana was offering an opportunity for someone from IAN to speak at the Call for Care event. They were looking for someone who was not in the center of leadership, and she asked if I might be interested. But she left space for me to say no. I knew from the Help Not Handcuff section that a campaign strategy was connecting through sharing our stories, and I knew I had a story to tell. You see, my younger brother David's untreated anger management issues caused violent outbursts that led to his tragic murder when he was just 1 month shy of his 21st birthday. For years, my parents and I experienced fear and frustration in trying to help David access the proper support he needed, all the while waiting in dread for what felt like the inevitable knock on the door in the middle of the night. I don't know if a crisis response system would have saved my brother, but I do know that no family should have to live this way. All families deserve better. We just do. I'm not sure why Robin asked me to represent IAN in such a prominent way at such an important event. At the time, I had never shared that story with her or with most of you in this church or even with some of my closest friends. I wasn't involved in the Help Not Handcuffs event, and I never even offered an opinion at an IAN meeting. To this day, I don't know why she placed her trust in me, but I'm glad she did. And out of my deep respect for her, I said yes, and I'm glad I did. I will forever be grateful to Robin and the others of IAN for trusting me to represent us on February 11th. Standing there on that stage in front of all these people in Indianapolis, I opened my mouth and I shared my deepest truth. It was an afternoon that was one of the most powerful, spiritual, and uplifting experiences of my life. There were moments of great joy and moments of heartbreaking testimony that left many of us, including politicians on the stage, in tears. The most powerful story was the veteran who spoke of calling the local VA hospital for help in the time of a personal crisis and having the police show up to his home instead and cart him away in front of his 3 bewildered, crying children. His story was so hard for him to tell that several men spontaneously got up from their seats, placed their hands on his shoulder, and stood with him to give him the courage to finish. It was a story so impactful that it was repeated in newspapers and told on the Indiana Senate floor 2 days later as senators voted unanimously to pass SB 1. When I spoke to Senator Melton a month later, he told me that February 11th was, quote, Indiana at our best. I wish all meetings were like this, he said. After that event, I found it easier to share my story, and that when I did, others, so many others, had their own story to share about a mental health journey. And I'm proud to say that SB 1 did become a law later that spring and represents the first major investment in mental health services in our state in over 20 years. When I come across a task that seems daunting, like writing and delivering this reflection today, I think back on the coaching our Peruvian guide, Edith, offered Pete and me in October of 2022, the night before we were to embark on our first high-altitude trek in the Andes. She said, remember, breathe, stay in the moment, put one foot in front of the other. Those words would become my mantra as breathing became more and more labored from the exertion of continuously climbing over rocks and boulders to reach the 15,770-foot summit of the Lars Trek. That's higher than Everest Base Camp, by the way. As the temptation became greater to just sit down and give up, as my body reached the limits of its capacity, I would break down each action to its most elemental state. Now, with the help of Pete and David, our trek leader, I reached the top and got back down safely. And while I can say with confidence, I did not conquer that mountain. I didn't give up. It wasn't pretty, but I completed the task. I did the thing I thought I couldn't do. I am here today taking the risk of opening up and sharing my story. And to my way of thinking, and lose skull buckles, I might add, the risk, as much as the result, is the reward. I love a story that the writer Annie Lamott shares from her past. She writes about when her older brother, who was 10 at the time, was trying to get a report on birds written that he had had 3 months to write, and it was due the next day. Imagine that. He was at the kitchen table, close to tears, surrounded by paper and pencils and unopened books on birds, immobilized by the hugeness of the task ahead. Their father sat down next to him, put his arms around his son's shoulders and said, bird by bird, buddy. Just take it bird by bird. Just read about pelicans, then write about pelicans in your own voice. And then find out about chickadees and tell us about them in your own voice. And geese, and so on until you're done. I thought about that story often in preparing for today, and have decided that maybe that's a better metaphor than the balloon about how personal growth happens most of the time. Maybe growth isn't like the balloon that gets blown up all at once. Maybe over time it's the small efforts that become practices that create lasting change. One word, one smile, one step, one breath, one question, one risk at a time. bird by bird, buddy, bird by bird. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. This month, we are sharing our Loose Change for Social Change offering with the Hobart Humane Society. The money in the baskets that we will be collecting goes to sustaining the mission of our organization, and the money in the cups that you can put in those goes to the Hobart Humane Society. And could I have 4 volunteers, please? For your prayers, your presence, your service, and your gifts, we are grateful. For those who are not with us in person today, on our website you will find an online link for one-time and regular giving. Another way that we build a new way is by joining together for fun and fellowship. Please join us in the parish hall after the service. And now Barb has a couple of live announcements.
First, I'd like to thank everybody that participated last week in the soup cook-off. We made $359. So, are you ready for the chili cook-off? Okay, Sunday, March 3rd is our annual chili cook-off right after service. So make your delicious chili recipes and enter the cook-off and buy an empty bowl, just like with soup, for $5 and eat all you want, but bring a lot of cash to vote for your favorite. All the money goes to the operations of the church. We got a sign-up sheet on the counter out in the parish hall. Thank you.
Now please rise in body or spirit for the singing of our closing hymn, number 38. Morning has broken. seated. Our closing words are number 712 from Romans 12, the book of Romans 12.2. Do not be conformed to this eon, but instead be transformed by the renewal of the mind, that you may ascertain what is good and acceptable and wholesome. After the postlude, we will extinguish the flame, but we will continue to carry in our hearts the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment until we are together again.